Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
An all-new redfish and maybe even snook slot. Guys, it's Joe Simons, like diamonds, and...
Hey, Luke Simons.
Like diamonds. So we came across this video. It's called Bring Back the Fish in Southwest Florida. And Captain Rhett Morris is, I guess, the kind of the main guy behind this. And we wanted to open this up for discussion. I don't have the answer. Luke doesn't have the answer. Captain Rhett, I will give him a lot of credit for at least coming up with a solution. And let's talk about the problem first and foremost. The problem, and he states it very well, this is a very well done video, is that if you've been around for 10 years or more, in the state of Florida in particular for this video, but this applies, I'm sure, Texas. I know I've got friends there and a lot of members there, and the Carolinas, Georgia, my wife's family is all in their Savannah area. They all would agree that fishing, inshore fishing, offshore fishing, all of it is not the same as it used to be. Meaning, you know, the pictures you see of some of the older guys, you know, catching these monster snook one after another. It's certainly not the same. And there's four main reasons. Habitat loss. So if you're watching this, you can just look at it. But if you're just listening, habitat loss is number one. Excessive fishing pressure. These are all things I think we all agree upon. Excessive coastal development. And then water quality decline because of some of this other stuff. These are all four things that are going against us. And Captain Rhett's point is these four things are all happening at the same time, and they're all kind of hitting all-time like lows, meaning not good. Meaning the water quality is at its all-time worst here in the state of Florida and the Carolinas and other places. Coastal development is all-time highs. Everything is going against us as anglers for fishing. And so before we kind of get into Captain Rhett's idea and his proposal, I want to give him, once again, a lot of credit here for coming up with a solution. What I think what all of us don't like seeing is a lot of people just complaining and there's no solution, just a bunch of people getting mad. At least Captain Rhett, whether this is wrong or right, I don't know, but at least he came up with a solution. So thank you, Captain Rhett. If you're watching this or it gets forwarded to you, thank you for coming up with a solution. And he has a petition over here to sign, morefishflorida.com, throwing it out there. Personally, if you are listening, I would say exactly what you're trying to do here, because it was pretty clear in the video that it's for Charlotte County or at least Port Charlotte area to change the slot. I didn't really see it on here. I would just make it more clear. Do you agree, Luke? Because you saw this same thing too. You're like, yeah, I didn't know what I was signing. So that's just my feedback on that. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but morefishflorida.com.
The video went into details. The actual website, I didn't see the specifics that the video had.
Video is excellent. So I'm going to keep this slide up. So habitat loss, excessive fishing pressure, excessive coastal development, and water quality issue. Those are the big four things going against us. And Captain Rhett's point is the only tool that we kind of control, and every state has the ability to control this, is fisheries management, right? And that's everything from grouper, offshore and deep dropping to, the snook and redfish. And his point, I didn't realize this until I saw his video, that it's been 36 years since the redfish limit was set, almost 36 years. That's at 18 to 27 slot range. That is a long time. There's some of you watching this that aren't 36 years old. And that's a long time to go without changing anything. Did you know that, Luke, that it had been that long?
I didn't. Yeah, that's quite a long time. There's been a lot of changes since then. So it's...
Well, and there's been periodic, we had the red tide year where they did shut down redfish. But in terms of changing the slot size and having redfish go all year long, unlike snook that has a closed season, that is a really long time to not make any changes. And snook, it had not been as bad. Snook, it had been, I think, 20 something years, and I did not know that either. So that was a little bit head scratching. When, all right, if we all agree that the fishing is not like it used to be in the good old days, why wouldn't we at least test some things in certain areas, which is what Captain Red has suggested. Hey, instead of going all over Florida, because Florida's got different sections, like, the snook season over on the East Coast is slightly different than the one on the West Coast. Like the state of Florida and the FWC board has the ability to try it out in a certain area, which is kind of unique. So it is possible. The other thing too, I thought was interesting. Did you catch on the video how many licenses were out there in 1990? How many fishing licenses just for the state of Florida?
I can't recall.
Well, I can. It's 800,000 approximate. So that's fresh and salt. So 800,000 fishing licenses in 1990 in the state of Florida. Last year, over 2.5 million fishing licenses in the state of Florida. So you can't really say there's not more fishing pressure. That's a pretty big difference. And obviously there's more boats. There's more marinas. There's more marinas that are completely stacked full. It's tough to even find a place to park a trailer without having to pay a couple $100 a month to store it outside. There is certainly more people out there fishing.
Yeah, and the issue too is those four items too. They're all basically negative in favor of fish. Negative against fish, and they're compounding too. So the fact that there's more pressure while habitat loss is happening too, that is just obviously extra impact to the fish in a negative way.
Yeah, and before we talk about what Captain Rhett has suggested and what that petition is, I want to make sure that it's very clear. This particular podcast is meant to be a discussion, not a sermon or us saying he's wrong or right. We don't know, but I love the fact it's at least an idea, and it is a plan that could go into force, and we at least take some action on it without having to get the feds involved and stuff. It's something that could happen. Just with a pretty small board at the FWC to approve something like that. So I do love that. And so we're going to throw out a few other ideas at the end of this as well. So let's talk about what Captain Red has suggested here. So currently the slot for Reds is the 18 to 27. He is proposing that it goes up to 25. So from 18 to 25. So a really, really small a small slot. So 25 to 27 would be the slot, plus closed season during some of the breeding months in the fall, which currently you can keep redfish all year long in Florida. And when I first heard it too, I was like, well, man, do we want to keep killing the breeders? But we're already can keep a 27 red, so it's not like he's saying we're going way above that. He's just saying we're going to move that 18 up. And the point is, it takes quite a few years, and snook and redfish mature a little bit differently, but it takes quite a few years for a redfish to get out of that slot, to grow past it. And the bigger the redfish gets, obviously the higher chance that it's going to end up being a breeder. And so it's like, let's give these redfish in that 18 to 24 range a chance to actually make it where they can go breed and start creating more and more redfish before they get into that 25 to 27. If they can make it out of that, cool. Then you have a bull red that can continue to grow. So I get the thinking behind it. What was your initial thought on it, Luke?
Yeah, it's it's a very small window. Just with the snook slots, only 4 inches on the Atlantic and 5 on the Gulf. It is pretty tough to get a slot fish. So it obviously would help the population. My worry was just that it'll put a lot of people who are going to fish, and part of the pull of fishing is to bring back some food for the family. That's gonna be a pretty big impact on those a lot of those anglers. It's very tough to get a 2-inch window if you want to go out and bring home a fish.
Yeah, it's the last podcast we did was bait casters versus spinning. I feel like anglers are pretty similar, where you've got some that are there 100%. They're going out to bring a fish home, and you got others that just don't care. And some that are just pure catch and release that would never kill a fish unless it just literally happened to die as they're trying to take the hook out or something. They might keep it. So I think you nailed it. There's going to be, if this went into play in Charlotte, County, or I guess it'd have to be the whole area there. but there would be some people who would be irate, the ones who have paid the same full price to get their fishing license, right? And still pay the same amount for their boat gas and all that, or kayak or whatever it is, that they would be pretty ticked off that all of a sudden they got a pretty small slot. I mean, it's a pretty small gap. I think it could help the guides a little bit just because they're on the water every day and they're probably just better in general at catching some of those upper slot fish. Certainly guide friendly. I think in general it will help the population. I mean, you can't argue with that. If you completely change the slot size and just give them a time off during the breeding. I actually like that idea. What was your thoughts on that one about just giving them a break like we do snook for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'd be curious to see the actual numbers, science-based numbers on impact, on the curve throughout the season. But it does make sense, right? It makes sense to do that. Ideally, it would time out where at least there's some season where just the everyday angler can go out and have a good shot at bringing home some food, so that like not everything's closed at one time. Like I assume the fall would probably be the time where especially the bigger redfish are easier to catch, and so I would assume that would be the time frame they're looking at.
Yeah, it is, and that's the time when a lot of people end up going hunting, or you got football and college football on. I feel like it's the time where a lot of inshore anglers don't fish as hard. The guys are obviously doing it year round, but in general, once it gets colder, you don't see as many boats out, and once you lose that hour. And you got the time change, you just don't see as many people out like you do from like Memorial to Labor Day in general. So yeah, put your comments. Like I said, we want this to be a conversation and want as many comments and suggestions on here. What science has proven that if you do shut a fishery down where you can't take a certain species, it works. They start growing. Luke and I have lived in Florida most of our lives. We were born here, but I went away for college, and Luke went away to England and stuff for a little bit. But we've lived through a lot of freezes and AKA fish kills. And when they and red tide, and when they do put some sort of temporary pause on a species, like it happened in the last, I don't know, it was 6-7 years ago. Time's been flying. It was almost a year where you couldn't keep redfish and trout and snook on the Gulf side, and they were hurt. I mean, it was bad, and they recovered, like a huge recovery. I mean, Luke, you're catching some of your biggest trout and a lot of big reds in Tampa Bay. I mean, it's done a great recovery, so it does work. It also ticks off a lot of people, but it does work. So I want to make sure we all can agree on that part, just like these 4 things, that giving fish a break to recover and go do their thing and create bigger families of fish, it does work.
Yeah, and that's I guess that's just a good thing too, just at the macro level. These fish have proven to be pretty resilient. Like I was living on the bay in Tampa Bay when that really bad red tide hit, and the trout fishery got hurt really bad, especially trout. Redfish too, but nothing close to trout. And that was, I don't know, 5 years ago. And like this past spring has been the best trout fishing I've ever had in my life. Like in Tampa Bay, like in the area that got totally crushed just 5 years ago. So the good news is that there's fish resilient, and some changes to management can definitely make an impact, one way or the other, right? Depending on whatever they do. So it's that's at least reassuring to know that these fisheries can come back if we give them some chances.
Yeah, resilient when you give them a chance to be resilient. Not if they had kept the floodgates open that whole time. I don't know that we'd be in the same place we are today. And to Captain Rhett's point, he's been fishing these waters a long, long, long time. It's still not as good as it used to be way back in the day, and for all those reasons, right? We can argue that till we're blue in the face. But I do think our fishery it's certainly healthier than it was after the red tide and after some freezes. But I am all for giving them a little bit of a chance. And so with snooks, those are redfish. With snook, we'll keep redfish kind of the topic because we want this to apply to all anglers, regardless. I know we have people who listen all over the place, from Texas to Florida to Virginia. But snook, it was to take it to 35 to 37. So for snook, same deal. You're talking just a 2-inch, and it said that would give those females, the ones who are breeding, an extra like 7 to maybe even 10 years, because snook are growing at a slower pace there once they do a little transformation. And that would give them an extra 7 years to keep growing and reproducing. That's pretty interesting. I did not know that as well. So just by shortening up that slot, which is a really small slot, though, that will be the argument of the people who want to go out and keep snook. I feel like it's already tough to get a slot snook on the Gulf side, and when you only give it 2 inches, that's the tough part. So it's almost like are we going to convince people to almost have just almost like a culture change or a mindset change? The same way, I mean, there used to never be catch and release, right, Luke? When we were growing up as young kids, like if you caught something and it was legal, you kept it. It's just what you did. You fill your freezer. And since then, in a really good way, and this is more of just a social thing, there's been this phrase catch and release. And in the very beginning, it wasn't popular, right? People are like, well, why the heck would you throw something back? They laugh at you like, it's a keeper. Is it a keeper or not? And if it was, you kept it. And now that mentality has gone away. But it took people like Captain Rhett Morris and others coming out there with some, in this case, a pretty bold idea and proving that it will actually work and help people out long term, right? It's not just about me today. It's, how is the fishery going to look next year, next 10 years, when our kids and our grandkids are out there trying to enjoy it? That's really the bigger question that we have to kind of filter all this through, because certainly no one wants this today. I don't think, or not no one. There's a huge group of people that don't want to have a massive change today. But when you look through to the lens of, how could this, maybe me not taking as many snook home this year, next year, or redfish, how does this impact my kids and grandkids and great grandkids, maybe people who aren't even born yet? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with it. And,
it's a rhetorical question. Of course you do.
Yeah. Yeah, it just makes sense, right? We just got to look out for the fishery, and I think part of it, I personally think that the overall long term most important factor on protecting the fisheries is to have as many people as possible love and respect the fisheries. So I think whatever the changes are, need to make sure that we don't deter people from fishing. So that's really at the macro level, that's been my biggest concern with seeing these really small slots, is that to me, it seems logical that it would have a deterrent to a lot of people from fishing that otherwise would be. And then they're not doing it when they're not going to be taking their kids out fishing as much if they just don't think they have a chance of bringing home some food. But
yeah, I wonder what percentage of like inshore saltwater anglers are like 100% of the time going out for food, and not just, no one's going out like to, it's the only way to feed my family. I mean, if you can go out there, you probably have some sort of disposable income to, go to Publix or Walmart or Aldi or wherever you shop. But it is not to say it's a right to go kill fish. It is a privilege. That if you do pay for a fishing license to do it the legal way, it is a privilege right now to be able to take some home. So I'm with you. When you take that away, you do maybe alienate some people. But then again, when they shut it down it was a solid year after that red tide 5-6 years ago, a lot of people were angry. But clearly it didn't impact the amount of fishing licenses that were bought, because it's back stronger than ever here a couple years later. So you wonder if it really does turn people away to term, or if they just want to get loud on social media.
Well, and there must be a pretty big percentage. Otherwise, this conversation's moot, right? Like if not many people are keeping the fish, then why are we having this discussion? So I think there's a lot of people. Like part of me, I'd like going out there to bring home some dinner, but
yeah, but I'm wondering what percentage of people now would be so mad they would not renew their license and say, I'm done fishing forever. Like that's the bigger question. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Because we've talked about this before, and I got to be careful how we frame it. But in Florida in particular, because Texas doesn't do it like we do it in Florida. And we grew up doing this, and I'm talking about throwing a cast net every time you go fishing and like blacking out your live well. We're not against live bait, even though we prefer lures. But it always did irk me a little bit because we're still talking about killing fish that are in an ecosystem to help grow the fish population. And if every single person blacked out their live well, and who knows how many other, bait fish were caught in the net and just died. It is kind of crazy though, right? When you think about that, all right, I had to go kill 200-300 little bait fish just to bring home 1 or 2 redfish. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean,
that's a separate problem, but I mean that it all kind of ties in together.
Yeah, because I mean, if you I guess take a step back. I think one of the biggest impacted legislations, at least from what I've heard, I was too young to really experience the brunt of the valley, if you will, was really the Florida net ban. I think it was in like the early 90s or something. But supposedly, like Tampa Bay in particular, where I've been fishing lately, it was just not good fishing. There's everything was getting netted, and that was just totally depleting the population. And that net ban, from those who I've just chatted with that were fishing before it and then after, it was a giant benefit to get rid of those nets. And those were obviously the nets that were killing a lot of the big fish. Part of sustaining fisheries is, we have to think about bait fish too. That's, these fish have to eat. Is how much of an impact can cast nets have on bait fish? That's because and I did that. I was for many years I was blacking on my live well, just not even thinking much about bait fish. And I was doing some research before this just to like see what the math was. And so a 5-pound redfish eats about half of its body weight in food every month. So that's 2.5 pounds of food per 5-pound redfish, which is like an upper slot redfish. And in only 100 bait fish, a 3-inch bait fish, 100 bait fish is 2 pounds. So like every 100 bait fish that are killed from a net, that's a little bit over a month's worth of food for one upper slot redfish, or 1 day's food for 30 like good sized redfish. So like,
that's interesting. Is your point that if they had way more, if the food source was better, that they're going to grow faster and grow through that slot faster? Or
yeah, I mean, it's just overall biomass in the water, right? Like if we're talking about just not keeping slot size, certain size fish,
talking about a healthy ecosystem.
We're managing the biomass in the ecosystem, and like right now, nets have like there's no regulation for like bait nets, if you will, and so how much of an impact would more bait be to the redfish that we're trying to help? I don't know. Yeah, obviously it would make sense that they would grow faster. They wouldn't, there'd be more bait to eat, so they'd be probably a little bit tougher to catch. Would be a downside for anglers, but yeah, I don't know the impact. Just thinking about just overall biomass of a fishery, like I feel like nets could make a pretty big impact. Just for a lot of areas that we fish, you see a lot of the bait areas are getting a bunch of, 10 and 12 foot cast net can pull a lot of bait in one swoop.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll kind of pivot a little bit because there's a ton of ideas, and we want your comments, down below on ideas, solutions, things that you've heard. I heard someone talking, like their idea was shutting it down, like all fisheries for, let's just say, 6 months out of the year. So you can't keep a single snook, redfish, trout, flounder, let's just say. This is an example. And we've proven that when you shut something down, it does grow, but you almost wonder if that's to the detriment, where you get people that are just so jazzed up that they go end up taking twice as many fish in the 6 months that it's open because now they can, and they know they can't otherwise. So that makes sense. Like when you take something away from human, and they know there's like true scarcity where they're not going to be able to. It's the same reason with snook, right? I mean, if you're on the last day of snook season, you happen to catch a slot, you're like, well, man, I might as well keep this sucker because I'm not going to be able to keep it for a while. Versus if it was open all year long, you'd be like, I might throw this back. I don't really need it. Like, I already got enough stuff in my freezer. So it's interesting. Once again, I don't have the answer, but you almost wonder how much psychology plays into it when something's taken. I mean, North Carolina, we had my buddy on up there talking about a lot of the issues they're having with their fisheries management. And when you shut something down like flounder, I mean, they're just chomping the bit. Now, I feel bad for those flounder when they open that season back up, even though it was a shorter season. Like, yeah, every angler in North Carolina is going out and trying to kill as many flounder as they can because they weren't able to for quite some time. It almost creates this like buzz. But I mean, hunting, if you lived here in the state of Florida, and this is obviously nationwide, but in Florida, I mean, hunting season for ducks, for deer, I mean, it's pretty short for a reason, right? It's a management deal. And does it get people amped up? Maybe, when you have that shorter window. I don't know. It's really, really interesting. I don't know.
There's definitely an impact, at like Sebastian Inlet at either the last day of snook season or the first. It is a madhouse. But again, that's a surge for a day or two. That still is probably less overall take than having people keep them for that whole 3-month window. But
yep. Cool. Well, yeah, we love your feedback down below. Like, so this was really more just Luke and I were having this discussion. We're like, we should just podcast this and just talk about it. Just have an honest discussion on that. Huge kudos to Captain Rhett Morris. I think when I'm changing windows, you probably can't see it because I have this thing set to only one window, but it's morefishflorida.com /sign. If you want to go sign and see the petition, the video is called Bring Back the Fish in Southwest Florida, Clean Water for Boating, Beaches, and Fishing from More Fish Florida. So that's who's behind it. And I think Cap Red is the kind of the spokesperson or maybe the guy behind it. I don't really know, but Cap Red, yeah, thank you. Like I said, we don't have the answer. And the best thing we can do is at least try stuff and try to get as much data and science-backed stuff as we can. And I don't think you're ever going to find something that 100% of people agree upon. But I like this one because it's simple. It still gives people the chance to keep fish, and it certainly would help the fisheries out. And if you only did it in one small area, I mean, that's kind of cool that we had that ability to do that in the state of Florida. So thank you, Captain Rhett. And yeah, comment down below. We love thoughts. Like I said, this is supposed to be a discussion. We are not saying that this is going to happen or has to happen. Really just wanted to bring some awareness to it because I when I saw the video, I was like, man, more people need to know about this, at least just to start coming up with some ideas to make sure that we're trying to find answers for these 4 things: the habitat loss, excessive fishing pressure, the coastal development, and the water quality issues that we're seeing here, not just in Florida, but across the board. And I don't think any of these are going to get better really soon, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I just like the idea of even breaking it up. So right now it's just the Gulf Coast of Florida. I guess it's really all state, but Snook has a bunch of different zones, which means the individual areas can manage them. Based on every area has some places get hit by red tide, some don't. Some have big freezes that have a big fish kill, others don't. And so to try to do it at the entire state level doesn't make nearly as much sense as actually breaking it down to the lower level where the actual scientists can get the real-time data on each fisheries. So I think that alone would be a big benefit.
Yep. Agree. Good way to test her out. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you. Definitely comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube or it's on the blog page, etc. Love to hear your feedback. And his website is morefishflorida.com if you want to go learn more about this. So we appreciate you, and we'll talk to you on the next episode. Peace. 'Cause fishing, it's in my soul.